Today I'm building a raised bed planter, but instead of using new wood as I did with the last one, I am using completely recycled wood from pallets. So this is all wood that I've already stripped away from pallets that I'm working on here. Just getting all the measurements and going to cut it all to the right lengths on the miter saw so that I can start the project off. Initially I'm just making two boxes that will sit one on top of the other that will actually make the framework of the box. Fixing these together very simply, just you driving decking screws straight into the edges there. Doesn't need to be any more complicated than that, just a very simple arrangement. Worth before you start giving yourself a nice clear work environment, which is something I should have done before I started doing this, rather than having things falling off the top as I'm trying to work on them. It's quite a windy day, so please excuse the camera shake there. It was the gazebo was blowing quite a bit in the wind. I'm only showing one of these boxes being made. I've made two exactly the same as this one. This was just the first one, and the second one I've just cut the video out for. So this is the second one just completed, and these are also some of the slats that are from the pallet. These are the support legs. I'm not sure what the correct term for them is, but you get thicker wood on pallets that supports the slats, and this is what these are made from. I managed to get 4 good ones off of one pallet, so they're all matching exactly. And you see I'm just spacing them out from the ends just a little bit, using a bit of wood there that's about the same thickness as most of the slats I'm using, just so that the slats will actually sit flush with the leg once it's all completed. Just marking it up and drilling through, because when I was actually going to be putting the screws in, it would be very difficult to actually hit the actual slat, and I wanted it to go all the way through the leg and into the piece that goes on the shorter side there, all the way in there to hold it nice and solid. So just line that up there by having pre-drilled it and marked the hole, and now just driven nice long decking screws in. And I'm also using some shorter screws as well, just to reinforce it, to make sure there's a nice good attachment to the leg there. So I'll speed the next section up even more, just so that we can show all of the legs going on. So now that the first load of legs are on, I'm just figuring out exactly how deep I want the planter to be, which in the end I went for 30 centimetres deep, and just bringing in the second box there, and got some clamps there, so I'm going to get that marked up to get the right depth, and then I'm going to use the clamps to hold it in place whilst I put some screws in to hold it firmly. That's the first clamp in. Again, I'm using the spacer there, that little piece of wood, just to make sure that it's even all around, so that I can get the slats just flush with the ends. I'm going to pre-drill the holes again because I want to try and get a screw to go all the way through into the shorter side piece so that it holds it and braces it nicely. So I'll put all 4 of those in, and once that's done I can remove the clamps, and I'm going to use some shorter screws to go through the longer side cross pieces straight into the leg as well, just to reinforce it. Again, I'll speed this all up here. So that's the outer frame there. So now I'm looking at making the base that will for where it's all going to be filled. Want to keep hydrated. It was a hot day, even though it was very windy. Just checking the fit there for the slats. Getting a few of them measured up and cut, so I've got a little supply there ready to go. Now, in order to make it easy to fit them, I've just got a couple of little offcuts, and I'm actually just clamping them. Not too worried about being precise on the actual measurements there, which is why I didn't measure it. Just enough so that the slats can sit there, and then as I'm going to actually drill and screw them in place, then I can move them to exact positions as I'm actually screwing them in. Because of the legs being in the way, with these end ones, I've put one in each side and one actually that goes in. You can see I'm screwing it in here now, that goes in from the sideways in. But with most of the slats, I just put 2 screws into each one on each side, just to make sure it stayed nice and stable there. And once I've done a section of them, then I just unclamped them, clamped the guides that I'd clamped on to hold them in place, and then just move them up so I could add more slats in. So I'll speed up this next section so we can just whiz through this. Actually, I'm removing nails there from some of the slats there, just so that I can get a bit more wood out of some of them. The wood you get from pallets is quite variable. You get a lot of splits and a lot of sort of nail holes, so you have to kind of work with what you can find. Sometimes you'll get a lot more splits, sometimes you'll get some very good quality wood out, but you do have to pick and choose with what wood you do manage to get removed. This entire project though is completed entirely with wood brick and pallets, so there was no cost whatsoever in this entire build other than screws. Now unfortunately I didn't notice the battery went in the camera, so I've lost a bit of footage, and I've cut back in where I've actually finished the side, finished the bottom, and I've put one side on. So I'm bringing it back in with some footage here where I'm actually putting on a complete side. So again, removing nails, and I'm going to be cutting out some slats that can go down to the side. There's only the one side completed here in this section of the video. If you're wondering what my partner is doing, she's sieving some soil there for when it's going to go in, because she's planting carrots, and apparently carrots need very, very fine soil, so she's just trying to remove any lumps from the soil. No massive amounts of weight on these side pieces, so there's just 2 screws for each slat just to hold them in place. Just taking a bucket down and pouring it into the bed for my partner. So the final one, I'm just cutting it to the length, and very simply I'm holding it up there and I'm just marking the width so that I can cut it to exact width so it will fit into that space there next to the leg. So I'm just marking it, cutting in there on the miter saw. Luckily the miter saw is a sliding type, so it will actually go enough to actually cut it to the right length there. So now that was fixed in, I'll then do the other 2 sides that haven't been done as yet off camera. So those are all now complete. As you can see, I'm just putting the last screws in, and then it just needs a sand just to smooth over all the edges. If you're thinking I missed one of the sides, the first side I did when I put it together initially, so that one hasn't been missed, it was just done as it was built, that first one. And that is the planting completed. Now it can be lined as you like.